miles with Scott Wiley.
But why don't we talk a little bit? How did you get interested in this sport, and how did you get started?
Well, growing up in Vegas, we were a town. We had about 150,000, 200,000 people here. It was insane how small we were. We had 9 high schools, but
Wow.
I was always athletic. I did everything as a kid. I mean, I bowled.
Oh, wow.
I played baseball. I played soccer. I tried to play some basketball, but wasn't very good, so I gave it up.
Fair enough.
And then I played football. And actually, I played football because of my older brother. I have an older brother. He's 7 years older than me.
Okay.
And I was watching him play football with his friends.
Got it.
So can you imagine this? He's 7 years older than me. He's about 14 at the time.
Right,
So I'm
right.
7. And I'm watching him play this sport, football, with his buddies, and they're having a blast. And, as a little brother, I want to play. And,
Right.
and they were like, no, you're too small. And I kept bugging him. Like each and every day they were out there playing football. So finally he says, okay, you want to play? Okay, we're not going to take it easy on you. I'm like, that's fine. So I got the ball and I outran all of them.
Nice.
I avoided all of them. And then lo and behold, he's like, okay, wait a minute. Let's block from my little brother and let him run with the football. So playing with teenagers, I got over any fear that I had of the violent nature of football. And I just fell in love with it and kept playing until eventually I got drafted to the National Football League.
Wow, awesome. And your career as a receiver started right there. It sounds like you were running the ball right from the very, very beginning.
Yeah, I was a running back, and then I could catch the football. So
Right.
my evolution to wide receiver, so I was a running back, and I got recruited to college as a running back. Played running back in high school and set all kind of records in Nevada and everything. But what happened was when I got to college, my body didn't evolve. So I was still a little scrawny kid. Like I was 180 pounds.
Right.
So I was too small for the position in college. And we made a decision, my coaches and myself made a decision for me to convert over to wide receiver because I was fast.
Right.
And you don't have to be that big to play wide receivers. So that's when I began my career as a wide receiver.
Awesome. And you were one of the fastest, actually, right?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I credit that to track and running from my big brother and his friend when I was little. So, no, my mom, she was a track athlete in college. So I think I got her speed. I was lucky to be blessed that way.
Very nice. And did your brother continue to play the sport as well?
He did until he joined the military. So he didn't want to go to college, and he wanted to follow my dad's footsteps and join the military. So he joined the Air Force, and now he's in IT. He gave up football.
Nice. So yeah, he went our route here in IT and software. Very cool. Very cool. So tell me about. I'm sure I was going to say if you can remember, but I'm sure you can remember. Tell me about that special night, during the draft. Thinking back, here we are in draft week in Las Vegas. What can you remember? What stands out to you about that special time for you when you were drafted?
I remember everything. It changed my life. I mean, think about it. It's like winning the lottery, really.
Right.
Or
earning the lottery in a way. Yeah.
Pretty much. So back then, I keep saying that, 1991.
Right.
The draft was earlier, so it's 9:00 in the morning. I want to say Pacific time.
Got it.
So 10:00 in Colorado at the time. And so I woke up late. Like the draft, each pick, now when you watch the draft, each selection in the first round is 10 minutes.
Okay.
But it seems like it's still pretty lengthy. Back then it was 15 minutes. So you wouldn't get but 4 picks an hour. So the night before, I know that I was out late in college town, right? You're hanging out. So I woke up and they were about 4 or 5 picks in to the draft already. So, I woke up, got out of bed and got myself refreshed and walked out to the living room. I had a roommate, and he was on the team at University of Colorado too, and he was watching the draft and updating me on all the picks. And we had a player at our school at the time, Alfred Williams.
Okay.
He won a Super Bowl with the Broncos, and he was projected to be the 4th overall pick to the Denver Broncos, right up the road from us in Boulder. But he didn't go there, so we were shocked. I was shocked, certainly, that they didn't pick him. And so we started to talk about that. And then they were right around pick 8 of the draft. And my phone started to ring. And I picked it up, and I answered it. and they were like, "Hey, this is so and so from the Dallas Cowboys. This is Mike Pritchard." I'm like, "Yeah," and I didn't believe it. I thought somebody was pulling a prank on me, messing with me at the time, and so I didn't believe it. And they got into specifics about the draft and what they're thinking, and then they might select me. And I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute, who is this?" And they say, "Hey, this is so and so from the Dallas Cowboys," and I'm just like, "Wow!" And I look at my roommate, and I mouth the word "wow" to him. And he said, "Well, don't go anywhere. Make sure you can stay next to your phone, because if we pick you, we want to be able to call you." And I'm like, "Sure, I'm not going anywhere." And by the way, I'm standing there in my PJs, right? And so
is this a landline?
Landline
phone?
No call waiting either. So I hung up the phone, and as soon as I hung up the phone rang again. And it was another team. "Hey, we're trying to reach Mike Pritchard. We can't get through. The line's busy." And I explained to them, "Look, I got one line, no call waiting." And they were like, "Well, make sure you don't leave your place or whatever and stay near the phone." So I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm just going nuts at this time. I can't call anybody because I have to have the phone free.
Right.
And then my agent calls me and he says, "Yeah, it looks like you're going to be drafted high up in this draft. And are you ready for that?" And I'm like, "No." How is anybody ready for that, right?
Right.
He's like, "Well, don't go anywhere." I'm like, "I got one line." Like, "Well, they're going to call me too." So he was fielding calls as I was getting calls. And I tell you, Scott, every time I hung up the phone, it would ring again.
Wow.
And so for about an hour and a half, I had to go through that routine until Atlanta finally drafted me at 13.